Very close to the anniversary of Jai Roberts' passing. And her daughter is here today, Julie, and her husband, Savino. I want to acknowledge them. And I want to bring Jai into everything we say today. And if within your heart you have somebody that maybe isn't here right now that has passed, maybe you can bring them into your heart too. And we can celebrate that life is eternal together as we go on with our service today. Yeah. So I'm looking at Patrick's notes. That won't work. Okay, so this month Patrick chose the theme of bliss, and I'm really, it's the holiday season, and sometimes we go, oh, should we do peace? Should we do light? Should we do joy? And he says, why don't we do bliss? And I think that is very powerful. Bliss is not a feeling, says Deepak Chopra. It's a state of being. And I think right now, as we were singing together and listening to Kyle and being in that state of togetherness, we were feeling bliss. At least I was anyway. It's not inescapable when you're in that place of just connection. And that's what we're striving for. That is what we're striving to take into our whole life. And I read so many things. I listened to Deepak Chopra, who seems to be the bliss king. I guess he's got a lot of quotes on bliss. I couldn't even believe how many quotes he had on bliss. I didn't even write them down, but I'm going to tell you some of them. In bliss, there is power, which is true. And nothing is more important than reconnecting with your bliss. And we do fall off sometimes and don't feel very blissful, but it's very important to reconnect to it. Always go with your passions and never ask yourself if it's realistic or not. And I remember a story that he told about his own children, that he admonished them to follow their passion. And he said, if you don't follow your passion, if you follow your passion and you fail, I'll support you. And he was pretty sure that if they followed their passion, he wouldn't have to support them, I'm sure. So they followed their passion, and it turned out to be very successful people. But it was very important to him. He said, if you want to reach a state of bliss, release the need to be in control, the need to be approved. The need to be in control. What have we been doing the last 9 months? Trying to control everything that's happening. And we're not very good at it, let's face it, all right? We just go with the flow. Bend like the bamboo. The need to be approved. I don't know about any of you, but I've had that need a lot of times, to need to be approved, and the need to judge. Okay. All right, so he goes, if you want to reach a state of bliss, release the need to be in control, the need to be approved, and the need to judge. Okay, not an easy list, but I'm sure we are capable of it. And nothing is more important than reconnecting with your bliss. Nothing is more rich, and nothing is more real. And he had 100 other quotes, but obviously this is a very important thing. And what I learned from studying this is I learned that we actually, because we always like to say, science, spirituality, it's all one thing. And I learned that we have neurochemicals in our body that are there innately that make us blissful. Life in the human body is designed to be a blissful experience. Did you know that? That we're designed that way. Our evolutionary biology ensures that everything necessary for our survival makes us feel good. This makes sense, right? Our brain has a wellspring of self-produced neurochemicals that turn the pursuits and struggles of life into pleasure and make us feel happy when we achieve them. The biological design is generous, but it lays dormant in most of us. But I think we're at a point in our evolution as a species where we're ready to say, you know what? They're not going to be dormant anymore. We're going to turn them on. We're going to turn them on full force. Because if we don't turn them on full force, we're going to what? What's the opposite of bliss is to live in misery. And I don't know about you, but that's not my bag. I do not want to live in misery. And so he says our biology, and this gentleman's name is Christopher Berglund, and he happens to be an athlete. He says our biology is short-circuiting. The balance of neurochemicals that evolved for a millennial have been disrupted by our modern lives. It makes sense, right? And making us more prone to depression, anxiety, and malcontent. So, yeah. So, okay. So what's the answer? The answer is to turn on our bliss, to turn on our bliss. And how do we turn on our bliss? We turn on our bliss by following our bliss, as the great master Joseph Campbell said, right? And I don't know about anybody here, but I feel that I'm sure that we want to live a life of bliss and not of misery. And I think that we've been sold a bill of goods, a lot of us as children, telling ourselves that we got to do this because we got to be successful, and we got to, make money, and we got to do this. And then we let go of all the things that bring us joy and make us happy. So what I want about this month is for us to really get in touch with what that is and start to live it. Start to actually really live it, because what I believe is that as we live it, the world's going to be a better place. The world's going to be more happy because there's going to be more happy people on it, right? And one of the ways we can also, what we have to do, and I just invite you, is to let go of the fear. To let go of the fear, as Roseanne was talking about, I think was her quote about the emergency brake, because we really have nothing to be afraid of. We're being told we need to be afraid, and we're being programmed to be afraid of each other. We're programmed to be afraid of everything. And I just don't believe that. And I stand true to that we're not here to be afraid of each other. And one of the biggest things, and Deepak actually said this in a talk that he gave, is that this is a virus of fear more than anything else. And I talked to an emergency worker in a big metropolis, and she said the same thing. This is a virus of fear. It doesn't mean the virus isn't real. It doesn't mean people aren't getting sick, but it is being promoted by fear. So our job this month is to become blissful, to do whatever it is that we need to do in our own lives to live a life of bliss. And I'm talking to myself just as I'm talking to you and whoever's listening online. I just am so grateful. I was just thinking about my life and how I'm living here, and how I get up and get to see the ocean every day, and how I envisioned this early on in my life. This was the life like I envisioned. I didn't really even always know that it was this, but I knew what I wanted. Like I knew there was something, and I let lots of things stand in my way to say I couldn't have it. I let lots of obstacles like money and time and no, you're not supposed to have that, blah, 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 blah. And until finally, like we said at the beginning, your song, Free, we're free. We like to think we're not free, or we feel like we're not free, but as Ernest Holmes said, we're bound because we're first free. So we're free. We're free to live our life any way we choose to live it. We're free. It doesn't mean we're free to control other people or right, or make them do something for us, but we're free. We're free to choose how we want to live our life, because we're free to choose how we think. We're free to choose how we believe. And I can't think of a greater gift than freedom. And even when we feel that outside forces are making us not free, nothing can make us not free. We're free. And I know that we all have that power of choice, that power to live from that freedom, that power to get all these little obstacles and fear out of the way, because we can trust. If we choose to trust who we truly are, if we choose to unveil and peel back the onion of our true identity, which is the power and presence of God, the power and presence of Spirit that moves through all creation, like Roseanne was saying in her treatment, that it's moving the stars, it's moving. I mean, come on, guys, we can look out at the ocean and we can see it, we can feel it, we can feel the bliss of that power that moves through us. So I'm preaching to myself right now, but it's okay, it's good. I feel like even more I have to follow my bliss, even more I have to stop saying, I have to do this, or I need to work till midnight or whatever to get something done. No, everything is going to get done. It is getting, and what I find is when I take a deep breath and I relax and I just say, you know what, I'm shutting this off at 6 o'clock no matter what, everything gets done. Because what it is there's a power that works through us, and when we claim that everything is getting done, everything gets done. That's what this whole philosophy is about, is that claiming what we desire to have and be, and then allowing it to work through us. Sometimes we'd say, oh, I believe, I'm getting everything done, but in the meantime, we're pushing the pencil and pushing whatever else to try to get it done. So we've just negated what we just said. So what is it? It's surrender. And it's surrender to our bliss. It's finding those moments when you can feel blissful, when you can look out at the ocean, when you can be with someone you love. Those chemicals that Christopher Berglund talked about, these are the ones. I'm just going to name them. You can go look them up. One of them is called the Bliss Molecule, endocannabinoids. It's in cannabis, but apparently we can do it ourselves. We don't need cannabis. It's there. The other one is dopamine, and it's called the reward. It's called the reward molecule, dopamine, and it's the go-getter in us. And then oxytocin, the bonding molecule, human bonds. Okay, guys, what has been going on for the last 9 months? No hugs, no none of this, none of that. I'm not saying to go out and endanger yourself if that's what you know. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we got to find ways to have human bonds. We have to have you, and that doesn't mean we have one relationship with somebody. We have human bonds with each other. We're tribal. That's who we are. So that's one of them, oxytocin. Endorphin is the pain-killing molecule. Exercise, obviously, comes from exercise. And then GABA, G-A-B-A, the anti-anxiety molecule. We can turn it on by doing meditation. Meditation, yoga, GABA, the anti-anxiety molecule. What do we always say? We need to We need to meditate. It's important. I started one day. I've never done it in a long time, but I started one day this week without meditating. I don't remember why, but I did. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the day, I don't know why. I don't know, because it's probably your fault. Anyway, it wasn't. Anyway, I hadn't done that in a long time. But what I noticed is all of a sudden, I was starting to feel really, I didn't know what it was. I was just feeling discombobulated. Everything wasn't working. And I went, oh my God. I went back in my room and I meditated for 45 minutes, and then the whole day changed. So it's just even 20 minutes, guys, even 10 minutes, even taking deep breaths for 5 minutes will help. So GABA, and then serotonin is the confidence molecule. And if you have to reinforce your purpose to turn that one on. And then adrenaline. Well, yeah, we know that one. The energy molecule. Be careful of that one. So anyway, but these are what I'm just trying to get is that we're wired for bliss. We're wired for it. So why not turn it on right now? We have to. We have no choice. And I will close with Joseph Campbell because he's the bliss master, right? And this is the long version of that quote, but I really think it's worth listening to. If you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all the while waiting for you, and the life you ought to be living is the one you are living. So it's like this right here, Kauai, you're living this life. You followed your bliss somehow to be here, to do that. And he says, when you can see that, you begin to meet people who are in the field of your bliss, and they open the doors to you. I say, follow your bliss, and don't be afraid, and doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. If you follow your bliss, doors will open for you that wouldn't have opened for anyone else. We're special and we're individuals. And if we don't follow our bliss, there's a whole thing that's just falling into the nothingness that isn't there because we didn't take that. So follow your bliss. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.